In the moment I discovered the truth, my world didn't shatter. It crystallized. My name is Connor Lewis, and I'm 33 years old. Each morning, I wake up in my kitchen, check my lists, and file my receipts in the drawer beside the coffee maker. I used to think keeping promises and maintaining routines was enough to build a life on. My wife Kara and I had a system, a routine, a shared silence we both mistook for peace. Then came that delivery room, with its harsh, fluorescent honesty, where assumptions crumbled under the weight of undeniable evidence. You might expect rage. Instead, I felt clarity. When betrayal strips everything bare, you have two choices: collapse into chaos or build something stronger from the truth. But let me start from the beginning. The delivery room smelled like antiseptic and sweat. Monitors beeped their steady rhythm while fluorescent lights cast that particular shade of truth-telling brightness hospitals seem to specialize in. I stood beside Kara's bed, my hand resting on the metal rail, waiting for the moment every husband dreams about. Remember how you felt before your world changed? That last perfect breath of ignorance? I do. The nurse's shoes squeaked against linoleum as she approached with the bundle. I leaned forward, chest swelling with anticipation. Then, time stopped. You know those old TVs that would freeze on a single frame? That's what happened when the nurse placed that newborn in Kara's arms. The image locked in place. My wife's flushed face, the white hospital blanket, and a truth I couldn't unsee. The baby's features told a story that had nothing to do with me or my family tree. My throat closed up. The room's edges went fuzzy, but the center of my vision stayed sharp. Too sharp. Crystal clear. Biology doesn't lie, and right there in that sterile room, underneath those humming lights, mathematics and genetics collided with all those late-night text messages I'd been ignoring. "I need a minute," I managed to say. My voice came out steady. That surprised me. I made it to the men's room on rubber legs. The door swung shut behind me, and I gripped the sink's cold porcelain. In the mirror, my reflection stared back, gray eyes wide, face pale. One sob broke free, silent but hard enough to shake my shoulders. Just one. Then I turned on the tap, splashed cold water on my face, and watched droplets fall from my chin. You ever notice how clarity hits hardest in bathroom mirrors? Standing there, drying my face with rough paper towels, I made my decision. No shouting, no scene, just facts, evidence, and careful steps forward. When I walked back into the room, Kara was cradling the baby, her eyes tracking my every move. The monitors kept their steady rhythm, but tension filled the air between beeps. "Connor," she whispered. "The registrar's coming with some routine papers. We just need to sign quickly. It's hospital procedure, that's all." Her voice had that particular tone she used when trying to handle me, guide me, manipulate me toward her preferred outcome. The tightness in my chest could have been anger, but it felt more like resolve. "Nothing gets signed," I said quietly, "until there's proof." "What are you talking about?" Her whisper took on an edge. "These are just standard forms. Everyone signs them. Not everyone has reason to question what they're signing." I kept my voice low, controlled. The monitors beeped. The lights hummed. A knock at the door made us both turn. Ms. Alvarez from hospital records stepped in, clipboard in hand, her ID badge catching the fluorescent glare. I watched Kara's practiced smile freeze in place as the registrar approached with her paperwork. That moment, that exact second when Kara realized I wouldn't play along, that's when everything truly began. "Mr. Lewis?" Ms. Alvarez's voice was professional but gentle. "Could we step into the hall for a moment?" I followed her out, grateful for the excuse to leave that room, to escape the weight of Kara's stare. The corridor buzzed with distant conversations and squeaking shoes, a strange comfort after the tension we'd left behind. You know that feeling when someone's about to tell you something important? How your heart speeds up even while you try to look calm? That was me, standing there under those harsh lights, hands steady despite the drumming in my chest. Ms. Alvarez adjusted her badge, choosing her words carefully. I need to explain something about the paternity acknowledgement process. She glanced at her clipboard. There are strict legal timelines involved. If you sign these papers today, you're established as the presumed father. After that, you have 60 days to contest paternity through the courts. My throat tightened. And if I don't sign? Then no clock starts running. She met my eyes directly. Without a signature, the legal door stays open. You understand what I'm saying? I did. Crystal clear. The memory of my father's voice echoed in my head. Son, never sign anything you haven't read twice. How many times had I rolled my eyes at that advice? Now, it felt like a lifeline. Thank you, I said quietly. I appreciate your honesty. Back in the room, Kara's head snapped up at my entrance. Did she explain everything? Her voice carried that false brightness I'd been hearing more often lately. We just need your signature, and we can all rest. I walked to the counter where the forms lay waiting. The pen sat there like a loaded gun. Instead of picking it up, I placed my hand flat beside it, letting the silence stretch. Connor, Kara's tone sharpened. Stop being difficult. Just sign the papers. Remember when you were a kid, and silence was the scariest answer you could give. Some lessons stay useful. Connor! Panic crept into her voice now. She clutched the baby closer, as if holding tighter could somehow make her plan work. These need to be filed today. Ms. Alvarez cleared her throat softly, her pen hovering over the forms. Professional patience radiated from her posture, but I caught the understanding in her eyes. She'd seen scenes like this before. I turned toward the window, watching a helicopter land on the distant pad. Kara's reflection in the glass showed her face contorting with anger. "You're making a mistake," she hissed, dropping all pretense of sweetness. "You have no idea what you're starting. You'll regret this, Connor. I promise you'll regret this refusal." The helicopter's blades slowed to a stop against the morning sky. I kept my eyes on that distant scene, letting her threats fall into empty air. I stood in the hospital parking garage, my phone trembling in my hand like it might bite. The concrete walls amplified every sound: distant car doors, echoing footsteps, the ragged edge of my breathing. I hadn't realized how badly I needed air until I got outside. Remember those moments when your whole world narrows down to one decision? When you know making the call will change everything? I hit Jeffrey's number, pressing the phone to my ear. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey man, you at the hospital? How's—" "I need you." My voice cracked. "Parking garage, level 2. A pause. 20 minutes. Don't move." True to his word, Jeffrey's truck rolled up exactly 20 minutes later. He had 2 coffee cups in the console and that steady look he gets when things go sideways. The same look from when my dad passed, like he could shoulder whatever weight was crushing me. "Talk," he said, handing me a coffee. The story spilled out in chunks between sips of 2 hot coffee. The delivery room. The baby. The forms I wouldn't sign. Every detail made it more real. "You're not crazy," Jeffrey said when I finished. His voice carried the kind of certainty I desperately needed. "You made the right call." The coffee's warmth brought back Sunday mornings at my parents' kitchen table, Dad reviewing receipts while Mom made pancakes. "Always keep your papers straight," he'd say. "Truth lives in the details." Jeffrey helped me make 2 calls, first to freeze my credit cards, then to attorney Priya Patel's office. She cleared her afternoon schedule. "Smart move so far," Priya said an hour later, her leather briefcase on the desk between us. "Refusing to sign was crucial. If you had, you'd be presumed father under state law. Without your signature, we file a formal denial and petition for DNA testing." My hands had finally stopped shaking. What else should I do? Document everything. She slid a notepad across her desk. download phone records, print bank statements, forward any messages she sends, create a timeline. I spent the next 3 hours following her checklist. Each downloaded statement, each screenshot felt like laying down armor. The joint credit card was already frozen. Bank records showed hotel charges I'd never questioned. Phone logs mapped late-night calls I'd ignored. As sunset painted her office windows orange, my phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. The texts from Kara rolled in like waves. "You're humiliating me in front of everyone. If you ever loved me, you'll sign those papers. Love means trust, Connor. Think about the baby. Just sign. You're being cruel. Please, for the baby's sake." My jaw tightened as each message revealed the manipulation beneath. The same sweet voice that had whispered, "I love you," now wielded guilt like a weapon. Jeffrey leaned over my shoulder, reading. "You see what she's doing, right?" I nodded, remembering all those nights I'd pretended not to notice her texting. All those business trips that never quite added up. "Yeah, I see it now." The phone buzzed again in my palm. The texts kept coming, each one more desperate than the last. I spent that night at my desk, surrounded by paper trails that mapped out betrayal in black and white. Bank statements fanned across the surface like dealt cards, each one revealing charges I'd overlooked. The hotel receipts formed their own bitter timeline, dates that matched her late meetings and business dinners. My phone kept lighting up with Kara's texts. "You're being ridiculous. Answer me. I can explain everything. Don't throw away what we have." Each message earned its own screenshot, filed away in folders marked by date and time. My breathing stayed even, the same measured rhythm I'd learned from Dad during long hours in his workshop. "Steady hands make clean cuts," he'd always say. Remember how it feels when pieces start falling into place? When denial crumbles under the weight of evidence? Jeffrey showed up early the next morning with breakfast burritos, and that determined look in his eyes. We spent hours organizing everything into digital folders for Priya. Hotel charges, phone records, text screenshots. My friend worked with the precision of someone dismantling a bomb, each file labeled and time-stamped. "You ready for tonight?" he asked as we finished. I nodded. Kara had demanded a face-to-face talk at the kitchen table. Having Jeffrey there wasn't negotiable. The kitchen still smelled like the coffee I'd made that morning when Kara walked in at 7. She'd dressed carefully, the blue sweater she wore when she wanted something. Tears welled in her eyes before she even sat down. "Connor, please." Her voice trembled. "You're throwing away everything over one mistake." I stayed silent, letting the words hang there. Her tone shifted to anger. "You're being completely unreasonable. After everything we've built?" "One mistake," I finally spoke, my voice level as I opened the first folder. Hotel receipts slid across the table's surface. 6 different hotels, 12 dates, all matching your late meetings. The color drained from her face. Then rage twisted her features. Her hand slammed the table, rattling water glasses. "You're destroying our family. How dare you track me like this? These are our joint credit card statements, Kara. The ones you thought I never read. It's not what you think." "The timing's interesting," I continued, laying out a printed calendar. "Every hotel charge lines up perfectly with your cycle tracking app." She stood so fast her chair scraped the floor. "You're invading my privacy. This is now." Jeffrey's quiet word cut through her rising voice. He tapped his laptop, and suddenly the TV screen flickered to life. There they were, chat logs between Kara and someone saved only as K. Messages about meeting times, about planning, about listing me on the birth certificate for stability. Kara's face went from pale to ashen. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Your cloud backup," Jeffrey explained calmly. "You used the same password for everything." The messages scrolled endlessly. Plans, promises, calculations about timing and paperwork. Each word stripped away another layer of lies. I watched her face as reality sank in. All her careful plans laid bare on a 55-inch screen. The TV's blue glow painted harsh shadows across our kitchen. Each message felt like another nail in the coffin of what I'd thought was real. Their words scrolled endlessly, clinical and calculated. Once he signs, that's it. His income? Stability. Birth cert. Locked in. Then we're set. Just keep him calm until papers filed. My coffee had gone cold, untouched. Funny how normal things, mugs, kitchen chairs, the hum of the refrigerator, feel alien when your world shifts. Like that Christmas morning when I was 10 and found bike tracks in the snow, realizing Santa wasn't real. Some truths change everything that comes after. Kara lunged for Jeffrey's laptop, but he smoothly shifted it away. Her perfectly manicured nails clawed at air. "Don't!" My voice came out quiet but steady. "This goes beyond the affair, Kara. You planned this, calculated it. You're twisting everything." She spun toward me, mascara starting to run. "Reading private messages, invading my privacy. You're the one destroying everything." I kept my breathing even, the way Dad taught me during panic attacks after Mom died. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Privacy doesn't cover fraud. You were going to trap me into supporting. Trap you? She laughed, high and sharp. I'm your wife. Everything I did was for us, for family. Family isn't built on lies. Oh, spare me the moral high ground. Her voice rose, bouncing off kitchen cabinets. You think you're so righteous with your precious evidence? You have no idea what this will do to my reputation. My life. The old me would have softened at her tears. But I'd learned. Comfort without truth is just another form of lying. The truth protects everyone, I said quietly. Even if it hurts now. She grabbed her phone from the table, nearly knocking over a water glass. You think you've won? That this little presentation changes anything? Her laugh had an edge of hysteria. I still have options. Plenty of them. Her heels clicked sharp against the hardwood as she stormed down the hallway. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle windows. Jeffrey's hand settled on my shoulder. You okay? I nodded, though my hands shook slightly as I reached for the shared tablet we kept on the counter. Something in her tone, that certainty about options, raised the hair on my neck. Check her calendar, Jeffrey suggested. If she's got backup plans. I opened the synced calendar app, scrolling through recent entries. My pulse stuttered, then froze. There it was, scheduled for next week. Notary. AOP backup plan. Oh God. The words came out barely above a whisper. She's already arranged to notarize a false affidavit of paternity. The tablet slipped from my numb fingers. Jeffrey caught it before it hit the floor. Even now, I can taste the copper tang of fear that flooded my mouth. Because I knew. Some lies don't stop at betrayal. They metastasize into something worse, calculated destruction, wrapped in legal paper, designed to bind you forever. The next morning's sunlight felt too bright, too normal. I met Jeffrey and Priya Patel at her downtown office, where leather chairs and dark wood paneling wrapped us in professional calm. But my leg wouldn't stop bouncing. Time is critical, Priya said, spreading documents across her desk. If Kara files a notarized affidavit of paternity, it creates serious legal complications. We need to act before that appointment. I rubbed my temples, remembering countless mornings at this same hour, Kara rushing to work, me double-checking she had her laptop. Now those domestic memories felt like scenes from someone else's life. What's our move? Jeffrey asked, leaning forward. Priya's perfectly manicured nails tapped the top document. We file our petition for DNA testing and denial of paternity immediately. Have it served today, before she can execute her plan. Will that stop her? My voice sounded hollow even to me. It puts the court on notice of your challenge. More importantly, Priya's dark eyes met mine. It shows we're ahead of her scheme. The judge will see who acted first, and why. Jeffrey nodded slowly. Proactive versus reactive. Exactly. Priya gathered the papers into her leather briefcase. I'll file these within the hour. The process server will deliver them this afternoon. The weight in my chest lightened slightly. Finally, action instead of reaction. Back at our house. No, Kara's house now. I waited in my car down the street. The neighborhood felt surreal. Kids riding bikes, sprinklers ticking, weekend gardeners mowing lawns. Did they know how quickly normal life could shatter? At 2:47 p.m., the process server walked up our front path. Through my windshield, I watched Kara answer the door in her yoga clothes, probably just back from her regular Tuesday class. Her face shifted from confusion to shock as she accepted the documents. Then came the explosion. "How dare you!" Her shriek carried across the lawn. "You coward! You couldn't even serve me yourself?" The process server retreated professionally. Kara stood on the porch, papers crushed in her fist, scanning the street. I ducked lower in my seat, heart hammering. My phone erupted with texts. "You're humiliating me in front of neighbors. I trusted you. You'll regret this public spectacle." Each message revealed more of her true nature. All manipulation, no substance. I turned off notifications. That evening, in my new apartment across town, I double-checked the deadbolt. The empty rooms echoed with possibility and threat. Tomorrow would bring the first hearing. Kara's lawyer had already filed counter-motions, promising to fight every step. I exhaled heavily, shoulders dropping as I leaned against the door. The day's victory felt both enormous and fragile. We'd blocked her scheme, yes, but the real battle was just beginning. My phone buzzed, Jeffrey checking in. "You good?" "Getting there," I texted back, then added, "Thanks for everything." The city lights sparkled through my window. Somewhere out there, Kara was probably plotting her next move. But for now, I had truth on my side, and sometimes that's enough to start with. The courthouse marble echoed under my shoes as Jeffrey and I followed Priya down the third-floor hallway. Morning sunlight streamed through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. My tie felt too tight, but my hands were steady as I adjusted my jacket cuffs, a habit from countless client meetings where details mattered. "Remember," Priya murmured, "let the evidence speak. Judge Bennett appreciates clarity over drama." I nodded, thinking of the neat folders in her briefcase. Each document told its own piece of the story. Phone records, hotel charges, that damning calendar entry about the notary scheme. Truth, stacked in chronological order. The courtroom doors opened precisely at 9 a.m. We took our places at the plaintiff's table, the polished wood cool under my palms. Jeffrey sat beside me, a solid presence in his charcoal suit. The gallery remained empty. Family court keeps its privacy. "All rise." The bailiff's voice filled the room as Judge Bennett entered, his silver hair and measured movements radiating authority. Kara arrived moments later with her attorney, all perfectly styled hair and practiced poise. But I caught the slight tremor in her hand as she placed her purse down. She'd dressed for sympathy in a modest blue dress, probably chosen to project innocent virtue. "Your Honor," Priya began after preliminaries, "we're here on a petition for DNA testing and denial of paternity. The evidence will show clear intent to commit paternity fraud." She methodically presented our exhibits, phone logs showing late-night calls to an unlisted number, bank statements with hotel charges on days I'd been working, and finally, the calendar entry that revealed premeditation. Notary, AOP backup plan. The respondent planned to circumvent proper procedures, Priya explained, by filing a false affidavit of paternity. Judge Bennett studied each document carefully, his expression neutral. When Kara's attorney tried interjecting about context, the judge raised one finger for silence. Then Kara stood, right on cue, tears threatening. Your Honor, he's abandoning his responsibilities after 5 years of marriage. Ms. Lewis, Judge Bennett's tone could have chilled summer. This court deals in evidence, not emotion. The exhibits suggest deliberate deception. Do you deny planning to file a false affidavit? Kara's rehearsed indignation faltered. She glanced at her attorney who couldn't meet her eyes. We just wanted stability for the baby. By fraudulent means? The judge's pen tapped once. This court orders DNA testing to be conducted immediately. Bailiff, please escort the parties to collection. My stomach clenched as the bailiff approached with sterile swabs. Across the room, Kara's face had drained of color. This was it. The moment when facts would destroy fiction forever. The collection took less than a minute. I watched the bailiff seal the swabs in an evidence envelope, applying dated labels with methodical care. That simple paper package now held the power to end one reality and begin another. Jeffrey's hand gripped my shoulder briefly as we stood to leave. The envelope disappeared into the bailiff's custody, and with it, any last illusion that truth could be avoided. 3 weeks crawled by like honey in winter. I filled them with work, spreadsheets, client meetings, anything to keep my mind from circling that sealed envelope waiting in the lab. The smell of fresh coffee in my office reminded me of easier mornings, back when routine meant certainty. Priya's call came on a Tuesday. Results are in. Can you come by at 2? Her office felt smaller than I remembered, all dark wood and leather-bound books. Jeffrey sat beside me, his presence steady as always. The envelope lay pristine on Priya's desk, official stamps intact across the seal. Would you like me to? Priya's fingers hovered over the flap. I nodded, throat too tight for words. The paper tore with a sound like falling leaves. Her eyes scanned the document, professional mask firmly in place. The results confirm non-paternity with 99.99% certainty. The words landed like stones in still water. I'd known. God, I'd known since that first moment in the delivery room. But knowing and proving lived in different worlds. We'll present this to Judge Bennett at 3, Priya continued, gathering her briefcase. The order is already drafted. The courtroom felt colder this time. Kara perched at the defense table, her blue blazer a shield of respectability. When the bailiff called us to order, Judge Bennett wasted no time on ceremony. Having reviewed the DNA results, he intoned, this court finds the petitioner is not the biological father. The order of non-paternity is hereby granted. Mr. Lewis bears no legal obligation to the child in question. His gavel crack echoed like thunder. Kara slumped in her chair, perfectly styled hair falling forward. You'll regret walking away, she muttered as we passed. When you're old and alone. Ms. Lewis. Judge Bennett's voice carried steel. The proceedings are concluded. I didn't answer her. What could I say? The truth had spoken louder than any words. Jeffrey's hand found my shoulder as we descended the courthouse steps. Above us, autumn clouds sailed past like ships, free and untethered. Justice had come, clean and clear as morning light. But victory tasted strange, like black coffee gone cold. The future I'd built in my mind, the family I'd planned for, lay scattered like leaves after storm. I had my name, my truth, my freedom. Why did they feel so heavy? You did the right thing, Jeffrey said quietly. I know. And I did know. But right didn't mean easy. The walk back to my apartment stretched longer than usual. My rolling suitcase clicked against concrete. I'd packed it that morning, knowing I couldn't return to that house regardless of the outcome. The key to my new place weighed in my pocket, promise and burden both. Each step carried me further from the life I'd thought was mine. Each breath drew in air that tasted of endings and beginnings twisted together. The grief felt raw, like skin after bandages, healing, but tender to touch. What would peace look like now? The question echoed with every footfall, with every block between who I'd been and who I had to become. The new apartment key turned smoothly in the lock. No stuck tumblers, no familiar catch, just clean precision. Like everything else in this fresh start, it worked exactly as it should. Empty walls stretched before me, painted an impersonal beige that whispered of possibility rather than emptiness. My footsteps echoed differently here, each sound belonging solely to me. The silence felt like a gift I could finally unwrap. No accusations hiding in its folds. Remember how silence used to feel like pressure? Like something you had to fill with explanations or apologies? This quiet carried none of that weight. I set my coffee on the kitchen counter, still bare except for the essentials, and walked to the sliding glass door. The balcony wasn't much, just a concrete rectangle suspended 4 stories up. But it was mine, and it needed something living. The garden center smelled of damp earth and green things reaching toward sun. I wandered past rows of bright flowers and sturdy shrubs until I found it. A small lemon tree in a terracotta pot, tiny fruits already forming among glossy leaves. "Good choice," the clerk said, as she rang it up. "They're survivors. Turn bitter weather into something sweet." I positioned it carefully in the morning light, remembering my grandmother's voice. Plants are like people. Give them what they need, then trust them to grow. Each sunrise found me there, coffee steam rising as I checked soil moisture and watched yellow slowly emerge from green. The fruit took its time, teaching patience I thought I'd lost. Some mornings I caught myself talking to it, sharing quiet victories, another peaceful night's sleep, a successful project at work, a day without checking old messages. Jeffrey stopped by on a Saturday, pizza box in hand. He grinned at the lemon tree. "Look at you, becoming a gardener. Look at me, becoming myself again." He nodded, understanding filling the space between words. We ate on the balcony, watching city lights blink on as dusk settled. The conversation meandered comfortably, touching on work, mutual friends, future plans. Not once did we need to mention courtrooms or DNA tests. "You know," Jeffrey said finally, "some people would have let bitterness take root." I glanced at my little tree, its fruit slowly sweetening. I feel it sometimes, for the child especially. None of this was their fault. But you held your boundaries. Had to. Compassion without boundaries isn't love. It's surrender. The sun dropped lower, painting everything in gentle gold. A breeze rustled the lemon tree's leaves, carrying away the last traces of pizza and conversation. After Jeffrey left, I stood at the balcony rail, watching darkness soften the city's edges. Behind me, the apartment waited, clean and quiet. Every item inside belonged exactly where I'd placed it. The deadbolt I'd installed myself gleamed, a small guardian of hard-won peace. I turned the lock, feeling its solid click anchor me in place. Sunlight poured across the floor, catching dust motes that danced like memories finally set free. My breath came easy now, no weight on my chest, no questions haunting the corners. The lemon tree cast delicate shadows on the wall, each leaf a testament to growth after pruning. I touched one of the ripening fruits, feeling its warmth, its quiet persistence. This was victory, not just the legal freedom, but this moment of pure, unshakable peace. Standing there, watching light play across my new beginning, I finally understood. Boundaries protect love, and self-respect comes first.